Daniel.
Toni.
Sam.
Adriane.
Tasha.
From my mother. Hardcore. Definitely.
I never did.
Yeah.
No. I mean, we had sex ed, but we didn't, it wasn't, you know, I didn't learn about that.
I don't think I learned actually consent, but I also learned to be aware of yourself. Like, always know what you want, what you don't want, and be outspoken about it.
Yeah. I think it definitely wasn't touched on enough in sex ed. For me, like, with my Hispanic side, one side of the family, it was like, I guess, and like Irish on the other side and all Catholic was like, you know, just stay away from it. So I guess there wasn't much consent talked about.
I picked it up somewhere in the Midwest, and somehow the transfer to out here, I usually get made fun of for being too much, taking everybody at their word, and being, people are like, oh, did you want me to sign a consent form or something? Because you're just like being a little too respectful almost, but I guess that's more of a Midwest thing than a race thing.
Yeah, I mean, with everything that my mom taught me, I was just really empowered, and I was taught that it was up to me, and my mom had told me stories about how guys had overstepped when she was in high school, and she always met that head on. She didn't really allow for it to happen. So as someone who really believes in equality of the sexes, and I have that strong, empowering background, I've definitely asked guys before, like, is this okay? Because sometimes you have to check. Doesn't matter.
I think for me, I remember when I was in sex ed, I think that they were really hyper-focused on age and, you know, not having sex before a certain age, or, you know, protection or STDs. They didn't really touch on saying no because of morals and values and things like that. It was just kind of like black and white. It was either like yes or no. They didn't really say that yes, the woman has power, or yes, you have the ability to, you know, be in control of your own destiny type deal. Like, I didn't really feel like they touched on that so much.
I don't think they did, but my mom taught me. She was very much like, she didn't think I wasn't going to have teenage sex, which I don't know if that's good or bad. But she's like a professor and stuff, so she's a realist. So she basically was like, responsibility. Always know responsibility. If you're going to have sex, let me know. We'll figure it out. Like, so I guess that's where I had the empowerment. But in health class, like, nobody said anything.
Like, there's almost like a sense of guilt that came with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, you're having sex. Like, and it wasn't supposed to be like that. Yeah, yeah. Agreed.
To by the book, maybe, like the classes, sex ed classes, like a list they had to go through, and not like realistic things to teach us.
And I think realistically what they do, not that this is right or wrong, but when you think about consent as a kid, you kind of, like, girls are like, oh, I kind of have to do this. Not like you have to, not like you're not empowered, because I feel like you guys are, but you're like, I'm in this weird position. I mean, do I do it, or do I not do it, or is this right, or I don't know. I think it's a lot of questions when you're younger. You aren't taught how much power you have in saying yes or no.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of times also, though, like, coming from I come from a blended family, so my dad's Hispanic, my mom's English, German, and Irish, and the values between both parents were really different. My dad was, you're not dating until you're 18, you know, you have a chaperone. My mom was much more relaxed, and so there was, like, what I would consider maybe like a conflict of interest. So, like, you had guilt on one end because you didn't feel like you should be going out and dating, and then there was the realism of the idea that, like, you're probably going to do it. Yeah.
I had the same thing. So reversed mother and father switch.
My dad didn't want to hear about it. No. That's the Catholic side. He's like, no, Catholic Islander, like, I can't hear it.
That was the thing, like, sweep it all underneath the rug, like, because it shouldn't be talked about, you know?
My dad definitely stayed hands off. He's the Italian Catholic, I guess it's Roman Catholic, but yeah, he didn't want to know, and I wasn't sure if it was a Catholic thing or if it was a gender thing, because when it got to that point where my mom was like, you know, maybe you should take like one of those moral oaths where you like swear in front of God and everybody that you're not going to have sex before marriage. And my father had a very realistic reaction. He was like, get the fuck out of here. Like, no way, you know? And I saw a lot of hypocrisy in things that my mother preached, but she definitely always gave me the power to say no in whatever way it needed to be.
Sometimes when they say, oh, you know, she's Latin, oh, she's cute and she's sexy. And then as soon as they say, oh, she's Mexican, it's like, ooh, she's probably poor and dirty. Do you know what I mean?
So
It's the truth. It's the truth. And so there's a negative stigma behind what I identify with, yeah.
Well, just saying I'm Latin, you know, to
Right.
everyone sounds sexier.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm a Latina. You know?
Or you're from South America.
Yeah.
You know, or like, you know, you're from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And then there's something like really, you know, profound, like really exotic about it. And then, you know, there's definitely like
A class thing that comes
totally,
with it.
yeah.
It is a class thing that people will definitely say. If I say Filipino, they're first like, what?
Yeah.
But that's a class thing. Like, my family actually moved out of California originally because my dad was Filipino and they wouldn't accept him. So we had to go across the country to be Mexican.
Yeah.
So, back east, Mexican's fine, I guess.
Even when it came to dating, I have dated guys who were not low-key racist against my race and would say, quote, you don't count.
What?
Yeah, it's happened.
That's a really great phrase you bring up, low-key racist.
Low-key
because
racist.
a lot of people, even people who are making like ethnic, you know, stereotypes or low-key racism, they don't think that they're doing it, but they are.
And it's just hearing or seeing the word exotic. It's like, oh, you feel like a special bird that some really rich guy had nothing better to do than pay thousands and thousands of dollars to ship over for his fucking enjoyment. And it's just, I get a little heated, I'm sorry.
You too.
That's the fiery Italian in me, I guess.
If I've said I'm not half black, it's kind of a reverse thing, and I'm like, but I'm Islander, like, or Latin, black and Latin. They'll both be like, are you sure? Are you? And it's sometimes it's hurtful. It kind of like puts you to the side because I'm like, oh my God, it really is hurtful because they put you on the side. They don't accept you. You're not enough, but not white enough.
Anybody else want to add to that?
I think none of us are white enough up here.
Oh God, no. No. I was never black enough either, though. Never black enough.
Did you feel similar?
I don't feel similarly because my parents did a really good job of making me always feel comfortable wherever I was, right? So whether I was at an Italian Sunday dinner or the curry goat cookout, like, it didn't matter. I was there and I was family, and you know, when you're the baby that brings two cultures together, the first one, there might still be adversity, but love brings people together. So within my upbringing, I was given that sort of understanding of, you're not one or the other, you're you, and that's great. And so as I got older, I became more aware of how maybe black people wouldn't sit with me at lunch until one black person showed them I wasn't so white. Or all of the white people would be like, yeah, this is our black friend, except she doesn't listen to hip hop or rap. Yeah. Like, it got really interesting, and I took like an observer instead of like a victim sort of mindset because it was fascinating to me. And it wasn't, when I started dating in college and after college, I did notice that the guys that were into black girls were into me until I wasn't black enough. Or the white guys were like, oh yeah, I'm not sure, I've never dated a black girl before, but they understand that that's a culture that I was raised in, so I've had to just find acceptance in that fluidity and just be discerning with who I spend my time with.
I think where I get sensitive, sorry about that,
No,
they get sensitive with me because you are black and Italian. You're races that people recognize. It's just Native American.
Oh, so hard.
Dude,
There's a
nobody
stigma behind
recognizes.
it.
Yeah, and like Filipino, and then to have light eyes and stuff, it's like, I'm not even these two races that I'm not enough of to be accepted. You know, I'm like, I'm not even in that. I mean, I understand, like, I feel like there's certain similar cultures, especially with the Filipino side, but it's like, I'm not even in the mix with the two major ones that people think I am. And that's what gets hard. Sorry about that, it's so dramatic.
Hollywood's hard too.
Yeah, Hollywood's really hard.
As a town, as an industry, it's
With
really hard.
business,
Absolutely.
trying to do business endeavors and trying to, you know, secure business partners and stuff. People doubt your ability to overcome your ethnicity. I think it's a lot of people try to put people in boxes. And as soon as you don't fit in a box, it's like, oh, people get nervous and they get anxious, you know. And so it's easier to kind of try to and stereotype somebody so they fit in a box in your mind.